Nobody's listening, right? Hi, Andy.
Hi.
Is anybody listening?
Oh my gosh. In Defense of Cast Iron from JDPW05. Came here because of Monica, but I'm staying because y'all so great. In support of the cast iron argument, I'm the proud owner of my great-grandmother's cast iron pan. The pan she used every day on her farm while she raised 13 children, including my grandma. It's so special to me. In fact, that I'm afraid to use it in fear that I will ruin the perfectly seasoned pan she created and maintained. Nonetheless, I love it. Your kids may not appreciate it, but your great-grandchildren might.
Wow.
And to you, JDPW05, two things. One, don't be afraid to use it because you can't. It will keep lasting a lifetime. The worst thing that happens is you mess up the seasoning a little bit or it rusts, and guess what? You can take care of that, and it'll be brand spanking new. And two, I'm not worried about my kids appreciating it. I'm worried about my wife appreciating it and helping my kids understand how special it is. But I'm taking that into my own responsibility and teaching my kids now how special that pan is.
Oh, what are you doing to make that happen?
Just kind of showing them how awesome it is, how I clean it, how it's...
Have you done that yet with them?
Not yet. How great it is, how it's going to last forever and ever, and how do you see this pan? We got to get rid of this pan because we got it like 2 years ago, but the non-stick's not working on it, and that's why the eggs don't taste as good. But this cast iron here is incredible. I'm gonna take care of it.
Okay, good.
Let's see.
Solution found for everyone.
Here we go. I'm listening from Gigi. If Monica suggests something, I listen. She has impeccable taste. This podcast does not disappoint. Thank you, Gigi, and thank you, Monica.
Thank you, Gigi. Thank you, Saint Monica.
This from CCPOK. Late to the game. Just stumbled across this podcast and have quickly consumed the first 10 episodes. Looking forward to catching up. Plus much more. Thanks.
Okay, amazing.
Yeah, there's more.
Thank you. Well, we have a few announcements to make.
Mm-hmm.
One is thank you to everyone for leaving iTunes reviews. We are getting closer and closer to overtaking Eckhart Tolle, which now has become a life goal. Secondly, if you aren't following us on Instagram, follow us at Nobody's Listening Right.
Mm-hmm.
Videos are back, baby. We're back with videos because Andy's big Band-Aid is off his face.
And Elizabeth said now it's okay to post videos. She was so embarrassed.
No, I wasn't embarrassed. It was just very distracting. And also, I feel like we needed just a little bit of video break for a short time.
Okay.
But now you've got your little scar patch on, helping that scar heal up nicely. It's going to look great.
It's going to look great.
Third of all, patreon.com/totallylame, LAIME. Go there if you want to watch our live stream, which is coming up, and you can watch our previous live stream video. It won't be live, obviously. It's been pre-recorded. But we are going to do our next one on Thursday, November 3rd at 8:30 p.m. Is that election night? Hang on. It might be election night.
Aren't elections usually Tuesdays?
You're right. It's the 8th is the election day. Okay, so Thursday, November...
It's the 2nd, isn't it?
No, it's the 8th. I'm looking at it right now. Thursday, November 3rd at 8:30 p.m., Andy and I are going to be live on Patreon.
Okay.
And we're going to answer old Totally Married questions that we're going to have the people watching give us the numbers of the questions they want us to answer. And we'll be interacting with our amazing patrons.
And answering questions live.
And having a grand old time. So check that out if you would like to. And then I guess that's pretty much it.
Those were your two announcements?
Yeah. I have a couple things I want to talk to you about.
Okay. I have some stuff too. Sure.
So, are you okay?
No, because I feel like we were vibing so great all day, and I don't know what energy shifted.
I don't know why you're looking. It's not my energy.
It's
I'm in
not.
a great mood.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know what's happening with you.
Okay. So it's just in my head.
Well, I don't want to make you. I'm not trying to like gaslight you. I don't know.
Maybe it was like the reason I'm feeling this way is I feel like maybe all of a sudden you were like coming at me with a bunch of stuff.
Well, I had some admin stuff like that you're going to have to take out both recycling bins this week.
No big deal. And I was like, okay.
Some
like
audio stuff. Was it because I brought up some audio discrepancies?
Maybe the watering the plant, the making sure the stuff's moved on there. I don't know, but there was an attitude and maybe I was being a little too defensive. But so you're telling me that we're cool?
We're cool.
Okay. I can move on from it.
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you have a very hard time with any. I just asked that, this little side table has room for my water when we're recording. And I mentioned that I would hope that when you have artists in here, you take that into consideration.
And I do. And you said, I don't think you do. Those little light things.
I don't think you do.
Those two little light things that were there, that was just there from the other night when I was live streaming.
Yeah, but I feel like they'd be there. When were you going to put them away?
I don't know, Elizabeth.
But I think you have a very hard time with getting any fearless feedback.
Oh my gosh, that I don't think is true. But my blood is boiling right now. And I don't know why my blood is boiling right now.
Okay, well, I want to say something that might really change your mood around.
Okay.
Let's move on. You're so mad.
Let's go. What are you going to change? How are you going to change my mood?
Okay.
Yep.
Earlier today, we had friends over.
Yes.
New friends.
Yeah.
And afterwards, which is something we usually do, but you were like, do you think they liked us? How'd that go? Type thing.
I didn't.
Okay. Tell your version.
You were like, I think that went pretty well.
Yes, I said
and
that
I
was
like,
fun. I said
that was fun.
That was fun.
And I said, yeah, that was good. I was like, they were great. And I was like, you think they liked us?
And I was like, yeah. And you're like, really? And like in your mind, you've already written some sort of story where they don't like us. And then
no, I said, did we make a good impression?
Did we?
Yeah, I didn't say did they like us.
And then I said, yeah, I think so. And then you paused for a long time, and I was like, you don't think we did? And then you paused for another long time, and then you said, well, let me just say this. I'm not worried about you. And then I was like, I think they liked you. Here's what I wanted to say to you. I think you underestimate how likable you are. And
I'm like just giving you
why are you
mad daggers. We're going to have to clip this. This is very authentic too. I realized I was just staring at you just
why are you so mad?
Just paying me a compliment. Just mad dogging you.
Why?
I don't know. I don't know. You know what? This is shaking me out of it. So I thank you for that.
Okay.
You know what? I'm here.
Okay. So
I think what I'm mad about, I'm mad about all these. I'm mad about the clearing off the side table and stuff. Let me be very clear about that. But I think this second, I almost feel like you're going to pay me a compliment, and I almost am like, why didn't you say that 15 minutes ago? Go on. You can't win here, just so you know. So go on.
I know it does feel like I can't win. So what I was gonna say is like last night or yesterday, the other day. Yes, it was last night. I'm not used to you being like this on a podcast.
That's even worse.
No.
Okay.
I mentioned that I listened to Totally Beverages.
Oh, yes.
And your reaction was, that's my worst nightmare.
Yes, that's my worst nightmare.
Which, first of all, I will admit, I haven't listened to a lot. Ever. But I listened to one on my walk yesterday.
Okay.
Your most recent one with Gabrus.
Yeah.
And I did an hour-long walk with a full dumb smile on my face. You,
Oh, that's so sweet.
first of all, you and Josh and Gabrus are like, all three of you are just such delights. But you are so much fun. And I feel like it's like we've talked about when sometimes when you see each other, like when you weren't expecting it, you see them like, I'll see you kind of objectively from far away and be like, oh, there's my guy.
Mm-hmm.
It just was like listening to you. I'm like, you're so kind of magnetic. You have such a great podcast voice. I really enjoyed listening to the whole thing, except for the part that I was in, which I don't like hearing myself, but I wanted to ask you something. So this is the last episode with Gabrus. You came in and said there was a moment in time where all three of you were like crying, couldn't breathe, laughing.
Yes.
When was that?
You didn't experience it?
I guess maybe I missed it.
Did you be completely honest
I
here?
think I skipped over some of the taste testing parts of it.
Yes. So it is during that part, which the taste testing part, and we did it blind, and I guess we understand that might not be like the funnest thing to listen to, but we got so in the weeds that at one point in time,
it took a very long time.
Gabrus was like, started really shitting on us and was like, what are you doing? Because I was keeping track of what everyone thought about each different one, and they're all coded with letters. So I'm like, okay, so Gabrus, you liked A, you would put that in second place in that. And he was just like, fucking, can we reveal what these are? And that's why we started, crying, laughing, because it was like he was holding up a mirror to our show about being like, this is so stupid. And it was so fucking funny. Having that in my head, though, coming out of that episode, which literally Gabrus is like our favorite guest ever on the show. He's so much better than any of your appearances have been, Elizabeth. And I'm totally joking. But
he's
we
just
were
a podcast favorite in general. He's the king of podcasts.
He's incredible.
Yes.
And but I think coming out of that episode and you knowing that you were going to listen to that one, or you were listening to that because I saw, I was a little self-conscious because as funny as that moment was, I think there was a little insecurity that was just like, is this the dumbest thing ever? But it's so fun, and it is so dumb that it is so fun, I think.
Can I ask you something? Because this
Please.
actually means a lot to me, because I have this story in my mind that I really feel like has been validated before, but you're debunking.
Yeah.
Which is that you don't really care about my opinion all that much. And so, like, I'm kind of touched that you were worried that I'd hear it and think that it was dumb.
Oh, Elizabeth, that is exactly what I was hearing. I have been living in this safety net of, we did that show for, I don't know, we've done 100-something episodes over the last 5 years of that show. And I've been in this safety net knowing that you've never checked it out once. And then I literally, so the listeners know, how did I see it? For some reason your phone dinged or something.
No, I told you.
No, but I saw it no, this was it. You said, hey, did you know that your iTunes art is looking whack? And I was like, what do you mean? And you turned the phone to me and I saw you'd listened to like half the episode and I was like, are you listening to it? And that's when I unraveled.
Yeah.
And it is because of this, Elizabeth. I do care what you think.
Oh.
And I thought, you know how I imagined the story playing out is you listening to it and being like, this is so dumb. And then you being like, Andy, your show, it's so dumb.
I would never say that, but I would never.
You would be more gentle. But anyways, you enjoyed it a little bit?
I loved it.
Oh, that's very sweet. It's very fun.
It's so fun. It was very entertaining.
Well, that actually means the world to me.
Good.
And I'll tell you this much. Are you ready for this?
Mm-hmm.
If you're worried about me and how you, how I feel about how you feel towards me, I really don't give a thought in the world about how I come across in that show and this show, except in the context of your opinion. Like, it just doesn't cross my mind. It has, interestingly enough, for the first time ever, after that religious episode, like 2 episodes back, I did get in my head about just this podcast and of it all, but it literally never crosses my mind.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't think about that.
That's great.
But I really do care about how you might think about it.
That's very nice.
Okay.
How are you feeling now?
It's been a ride. It's been a real roller coaster the last 10 minutes.
Should we talk about what happened last night?
I don't know. What happened?
Our son was asking all of us what our worst fears were.
Yeah.
And it's a sticky question because you don't want to be like, well, that one of you children gets cancer, and you don't want to make them realize there are all these horrible, horrible things that can happen in the world where they're still like in the innocent, naivete.
Yeah.
So I just kind of did a blanket thing. Well, my worst fear would just be something bad happening to one of you two.
Yeah.
Was so funny.
I'm laughing because even last night, I knew you were going to say something like that, or I thought you could have been as simple as like dying. Like, what's your biggest fear?
But my biggest fear is not dying.
Okay, that's great to know. I did have the feeling when they asked that they were kind of asking like of things in like
it turns
spooky,
out they weren't. It turns out
Halloween. It's almost Halloween.
It was all triggered. I did realize that after I'd given that answer.
So
that that they had gotten these remote controlled spiders from their Bubby and Zeta, and Andy's parents sent them these very cool remote controlled spiders. And in our house, there's this kind of running joke that is I amp up for the drama in front of it. I'm not really.
That's good to know. Okay.
I'm not really that scared of spiders or snakes or whatever, but I act like I'm terrified.
I feel like you're pretty legit scared of snakes.
I am pretty scared of snakes, but not. I mean, I would hold a snake if I'm not as scared as I make out to be, but they love how scared I am of it.
Mm-hmm.
So then they put the fake snake in the bed and they prank me and get a big kick out of it. So between snakes and spiders, now there are these 2 spiders in our house, and I've been acting like I'm terrified of them and whatever, and the kids love it. I realized after I had said something, I didn't say something terrible, or I didn't say one of you dying or one of you anything. I just said something happening to one of you.
Yeah.
But then I realized that it was like Otis's biggest fear was seeing a scary character that he's seen in a video game before that's very fake. And then what was the other one?
Why did you? Were you just gaslighting Otis?
What do you mean?
He's scared of this character that's really fake.
Well,
that's not gaslighting.
No, it's not gaslighting.
Minimizing?
Yes. I said that so that people aren't like, why is he watching video games with really scary characters or whatever?
Yeah.
There was another one, though. It was something about tasting a certain flavor that's off-putting to him. And then I was like, oh, we're in different territories. I'm thinking
we
about
should have let them answer before it got to you. You should have definitely gone last.
But you said, I have a fear of being asleep and being awakened because a pineapple fell on my face.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, I want to know where you got that.
I was trying to think of can I be really honest? I was trying to unwind a little bit of the intensity that you had brought into the scenario. And so I was trying to think of a food that would be I was just trying to think of something silly to be afraid of. And we were eating dinner, and so I was like, foods, and I was like, what food? And I was like, pineapple would suck to get hit by a pineapple because they're spiky.
But yeah, okay.
And then I must have, I'm guessing subconsciously, gone to it falling on my face, because after I said that, you were so mad, and you're like, that happened to me, but not with the pineapple.
I wasn't so mad, but I was like, it was like you took a real trauma that happened to me.
A real trauma. That was a joke. Oh my gosh.
Andy. Oh my God. By the way, okay, for people.
Yeah, rewind it
We'll tell the story. When I was 9 years old, I was at a sleepover. Do you have notes on that age?
10, 11?
No.
Okay.
Because I moved to St. Louis when I was 10. This was in East Bay, San Francisco.
Okay.
But why do you think you know better?
I was just thinking that was a little early for sleepovers.
Oh, not back then.
Okay.
Going to sleepovers when we were like 6.
Really?
Yeah.
I guess some people do that now. Okay. Go on.
But thanks for fact checking.
I'm going to be fact checking this whole thing.
Okay, I know you
And
are.
it turns out our son might have
you
really fact checked
you
it.
fact check my entire existence.
Mm-hmm.
So I was at a sleepover. I remember it was like this girl, and in my mind I was like,
Keep your eyes closed because it looked like you were really going back there in time, which I liked.
I was like, oh wow, she's really rich. She had a basement that was finished at a pool table.
Finished basement back in the day.
That I was like, whoa. And this was in East Bay, San Francisco. Wasn't
Not many basements in East Bay? Okay.
And anyway, I do remember this being the first sleepover. It wasn't my first sleepover, but the first one I had been to where there was kind of like a mean girl vibe happening, where I felt a little like outside of the cool clique.
Did you come across that vibe, not towards you, or just that vibe in general at sleepovers? Can that happen? Like, had that happened later after that time too? Sort of, is that a thing?
Maybe, but actually, I do remember this being the first time I felt like this is the first time I can remember feeling like real social insecurity
And feeling on the outs of the group,
and feeling
sort
on
of.
the outs of the group,
Yeah.
and then it was time for bed. We all had our sleeping bags, and I, for some reason, was set up with my head under the lip of the pool table.
How many girls again were at the thing? Would you
I think
say?
I think there were like 11 girls.
Like
it
a
might have been a
party
birthday
or something?
party.
Okay, yeah.
So, we went to sleep, and then I don't know what time it was or what happened, but in the middle of sleeping, basically, I woke up because a pool ball had inexplicably jumped the lip of the pool table and landed on my nose and mouth. Now, for people who know what a pool ball feels like, it is incredibly dense and heavy.
Yeah.
And that drops like a rock onto a little 9-year-old girl's face.
And this is, to be clear, when you say pool ball, you mean billiards ball, not like a blow-up beach ball in a pool.
Thanks. Okay. So it broke my nose.
Okay.
Which my parents didn't even have fixed, which I just had fixed like 2 years ago. My 4 front teeth on bottom and top are half fake. Luckily, all of the like roots remained intact. But
Can you take us through like the quick aftermath of what this happens? You wake up, obviously.
I wake up and it's really interesting because I don't even remember pain.
Yeah.
I remember blood.
Oh.
I remember what the clearest thing I remember, which is gross. I think I must have just been in shock because I don't remember pain or anything, and I couldn't really tell what had happened. Obviously, it's very disorienting waking up like that.
Yeah.
And it was like the 8 ball, and I remember.
Get the fuck out of here with the 8 ball.
It was.
Get the fuck out.
Oh, it was. It was. Because I'll tell you why.
This is so hard for me because I was just like starting to really come back into this with you and like wanting to give that little girl a hug and the trauma, and then you say the 8 ball thing, and I'm just taken out of the whole thing. I don't know. Like, okay, go on.
Okay. So I remember it was the 8 ball because it's black. And I remember crunching and going, oh, I must have bit into this 8 ball. Like me thinking I shattered this 8-ball with my mouth, not realizing, and then taking out some of the pieces,
no.
and they're like,
No.
they're white pieces and bloody white pieces. And I'm like, oh, in my mind I go, oh, that's interesting that the 8-ball, the black is just on the outside. It's like a thin black painting on what is ultimately a white ball. But it was really my teeth.
Okay. Keep going.
So anyway, but I do remember.
Was there parents? What
Yes.
happened? What? And in that moment,
No, there was a mom there, right? Actually, I don't even remember there not being the mom there. She was like kneeling next to me. Can you imagine being that mom? And be like, what the fuck happened? Also, like, because when a kid gets hurt, you need to know what has happened to kind of like diagnose what's going on, and being like, is this a gunshot wound? Like, what is happening? Why is this girl's face all fucked up and bloody?
Mm-hmm.
So I wish I remembered, when I was in the I'm sorry room, the guys really wanted me to start a podcast that was all about figuring out what happened that night.
I by the way, I still think that's an incredible idea.
Like, I don't remember, and obviously I don't have my parents to ask about it. Anna Marie, I asked about it like in the last couple of years. She vaguely remembers it happening, but definitely doesn't remember, like,
yeah.
I don't know whose mom this was. I would love to like know what the fuck happened.
Because if you could figure out the family, and if those parents were alive, that's something they would remember. They would remember. Anyway,
Yes.
so it might be a worthy adventure.
And they
at some
may not
point.
know what happened because, I mean, I had theories that like one of the mean girls in the middle of the night like dropped the pool ball, or not. Someone was messing around and. But we were all asleep is the thing. And for it to drop right on me, I mean, that's some dark fucking evil shit. But our son, so you brought up the pineapple, and I was like, it feels like you're mocking kind of a real trauma that happened to me about this pineapple. And you were like, yeah, but a pineapple has like pointy parts. And I'm like, that's just a surface abrasion. A pool ball is much worse. I don't know why we're debating what's worse. And then the kids were like, oh, right. I didn't even know that they knew the story.
Mm-hmm.
But Otis said something about, I know the story. You were at a sleepover and you shook the pool table. And the pool ball fell on you. Which was like, you take it from here.
Well, it just, he threw in a really interesting theory that we had never examined before. That maybe you hit the pool table.
A 9-year-old body at the base of a pool table is not.
Okay. Let's go over real quick the possible scenarios. One, a girl did fucking crazy, horrible person just dropped it directly on you. 2, we're talking some ghost shit.
Yes.
3, and probably would be likely, except you were all sleeping, but if kids were just horsing around, even playing pool and the ball jumping off and falling.
Yeah, that's probably most likely.
4th, this one's real dark, but you say you can't remember a time when the mom wasn't there.
Oh my God, Andy.
Ooh,
No.
real dark.
Okay, yeah.
I think those are, is there a 5th option? I think those are it.
I think those are it.
And then the 5th maybe being that you shook the pool table somehow.
What I'm confused about is like, if this, heaven forbid, happened to one of our kids, I would be like, I need answers. I want every kid there talk to.
But maybe your
like
mom
the
had the answers. You
dentist-
just can ask that your parents because they're gone. I bet your mom had answers.
I think I would have known more.
You had to go to
I have 4 half fake teeth.
There's so much more here. Like you're selling your mom short. I think she got some sort of answers.
I guess.
I mean, maybe not exactly what happened, but there's
Right.
more to this story of how it unfolded, I feel like.
Yeah.
Or you know what I mean?
Yeah. feel like anyway.
That's wild.
Yes.
Dang.
Okay. Well,
Well, I got a question for you.
okay.
Listeners, if you have any young listeners right now, might be a nice time to pause the show. We're going to get into a little science thing about penises for a second.
Oh, okay. Like any young listeners who just heard that whole story are already.
So I was playing Rocket League the other night. I play this video game with my brother and BDT and LDJ every week. And
LDJ?
Long Dong Josh?
I've never heard that, and I don't think our listeners have heard that.
Okay. With Josh, BDT.
I don't like LDJ because it makes it like.
I was just seeing if you would catch it.
Oh, okay.
That's not his nickname.
Okay.
Anyways, I play this video games. It started in quarantine. Is that right? Quarantine. During the pandemic, it happened. Anyways, we play like once a week, this dumb video game. So much fun. And when I'm not on BDT's team, if he's playing against me and like I'm with Matt, my brother, BDT and I can get very chatty. And I love talking about really dumb stuff, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And it really grinds Josh's gears. Like it really, and so much so that he thinks it is like a tactic that I use when I'm playing against him.
And has it become one, sort of?
Well, it becomes funny because once he starts getting annoyed and his blood, you can really literally see his blood start boiling.
He wouldn't do well like living with you.
It would probably be hard for him. And BDT really is like an encyclopedia of knowledge. So he can't help but talk about the stuff if I bring it up.
Right.
And BDT and I have lived with each other, and I think we know each other. And so we do, most of the time we genuinely are having real conversations.
Yeah.
But then Josh's blood starts to boil, and I might.
And what happens to him?
He's like, shut the fuck up. No one cares, Andy. Shut the fuck up. Like he gets really upset.
Yeah.
What I want to make this very clear is usually, though, it is an authentic thing that I'm curious about.
Mm-hmm.
But then I take it too far once he starts getting annoyed. And then my brother's just sitting there delighting and loving watching this go down, I feel like.
Yeah.
So the other night, somehow something about weight came up and someone made like a penis joke about their penis weighing a lot. And I said, how much does a penis weigh? I don't know the answer to that. You might know the answer to that. But then I said, how much does an erect penis weigh more than a not erect penis?
What a dumb question.
Yes. But this is where my brain went. Is it the same? And then, or is it not the same? Okay, great. We're going to get into all this. But then also, your body, your whole body. Because I'm guessing you're thinking the erect penis weighs more than the non, right? Does that mean your whole body increases weight, or does the body stay exactly the same?
The body stays exactly the same. Listen, if you have two...
I knew you were going to have an answer to this.
If you have two buckets and one's filled with water and you weigh them all together, they all weigh the same. But then when you pour the water out of one bucket into the other bucket's going to weigh more, but still, it all just weighs the same. It's just blood pouring from your body, from one part of your body to another.
I think you're completely right.
Yeah.
Now, BDT had a theory that there is a potential that actually the body would weigh slightly less with the erect penis. Not because we all agree that the erect penis weighs more in this scenario, right? But because whatever energy had to have been exerted to get the blood to the penis, that actually maybe then the whole body weighs slightly less.
Because you've burned so many. I mean, I guess with BDT's huge dick, like I guess he's burning a lot of calories to power that puppy, but This is insane.
Well, so I think you're experiencing this how Josh did, but imagine it going on for 5 more minutes.
Yeah.
But I was kind of curious about that. But I love your theory, and that was my initial
I don't
theory. It's
even
just
feel
like
like
it
it's a
stays
theory.
exact the same.
I don't
You
even,
know, it's like no change at
I
all.
just don't even feel like it's a theory.
But it is a theory. Oh, you just think it's correct, you mean?
Yes.
What kind of doctor would know the answer to that question? Or like who would know the
Sex-
answer?
Sexual. If any of our listeners have some sort of degree to back up their knowledge about this stupid question, please reach out.
Okay.
Okay. Also, several people reached out about your stomach pains and stuff.
Oh.
I've heard ulcers. I've heard gallstones.
I looked up ulcer.
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
The gallbladder's on the other side
Yeah,
of your body.
gallbladder I don't think is right.
But you are going to, rest assured, you are going to a medical professional this week.
So it was, I'll be honest with you, Elizabeth. That day I was calling the doctor a lot. I was getting kind of freaked out. And I was
You and me both.
feeling something. I was very close to going to the emergency room.
Well, I thought
So-
I told you should.
Okay, so you told me I should probably earlier in the day. And then around like 5 o'clock, I was like, maybe I should just fucking go. And I hadn't talked to you again about it. Then my doctor did call me, and I explained everything going on. He had a couple initial ideas, but he was like, this doesn't sound cardiac. And he says, and I don't think it's super urgent. And I was like, what happens if I feel like I need to go to the emergency room? And he's like, you call me first. Like, call me if it gets that bad.
Yeah.
Anyways, then the next day I still felt kind of shitty. And I'd been feeling this for a while, actually. This is kind of the weird thing.
This is what scared me, as you had said. You had been feeling it for like a month, whereas I thought it was a few days.
It was like a little bit for a month off and on. And then it was going strong for like a week.
Well, I will say that day, like, I could not focus at work. I was like, excuse me, sorry. I was like, I think it's totally PTSD from getting my mom's cancer diagnosis and then having it come back. But of course, when you search something in that area of the body, like the pancreas comes up, I was like losing my fucking shit. And that was, we laid in bed that night and I could start crying right now when I'm like, it gives you so much perspective. Obviously I appreciate you all the time, but it gives you kind of a new perspective. And I was just thinking about like, and by the way, I know any of us could be hit by a car walking across the street at any point in time. I'm acutely aware of that. But like, I totally go to such dark fucking places. And I reminded myself this time, I'm like, you always do this. You always go there. Like, anytime there's anything, you go to absolute crazy worst case scenario. But I was freaking the fuck out. And I was thinking about like all of this joy in our lives and like the cabin. And I don't know. One of my favorite things to do with you is to like dream about what we will do. We have a bit of a bucket list of things down the road, and it just seemed like what I don't know if I'd obviously carry on.
Yeah.
But God, that would suck.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not even
I know what you're talking
you
about.
know what I'm saying.
Completely.
But like yikes. So I'm very relieved. And then that's crazy. Like the next day your doctor is seeming not worried, and then it totally got better. And
like right now I do have like this lump thing that I'm like, this I got to get checked out, obviously. But the pain I was feeling, almost, I would say 80% gone. The other interesting thing is I wanted to tell you this, and I think it might be interesting for our listeners. So I stopped when this started really getting bad, I stopped taking the ADHD medication.
Mm-hmm.
And so I hadn't taken it in about a week. And I was like, maybe that will make this pain go away. And it wasn't making the pain go away, not taking it. And then when I talked to my doctor, I was like, hey, I've been taking this medication. And he's like, no, that wouldn't be it. And then so I took it the next day, but it didn't seem to help with the feeling. So I was like, oh, I'm just going to stop until I see my doctor. But what has been so fucking crazy, and I've told you how helpful the medication has been for me.
Yeah, especially working.
So I had, it's so wild in the last, this past week not taking it, I've noticed such a huge difference. And one of the craziest things was, and I want to look more into this, or maybe listeners can relate, and I'd be curious, hit me up if this rings true for you. I had a day where I don't think I had a session with an artist, but I had like a huge to-do list. And I was like, I'm going to fucking knock this out. And I did like great. And I got most of the stuff finished by like, I want to say like 2 or 3 o'clock. And so I felt so good about it. But what was so wild is then the rest of the day, and I didn't realize this till the next day when I thought about it, I missed so many fucking weird things and forgot so many things.
Oh, no way.
Like it was almost like I had to take so much energy to get through this morning thing.
Yeah.
That then that whole second of the day, I kept forgetting where stuff was. I left the stove on once, which I've done way too many times. And it was like example after example after example. And I just like had to stop and was like, what the fuck is going on? But it's been really weird, slowly getting used to taking the medicine over the last 3 months and then not taking it for, now it's getting about 2 weeks. And I'm just like, it's great that it helps, but I think I'm going to have to probably try, anyways, I'll keep you updated, a different medicine, I have a feeling, but hopefully it'll help.
Yeah.
Because I do think the other one wasn't helping what was ever going on.
Yeah, but you'll have that addressed.
Yeah, yes.
It'll be fine.
Yeah. But isn't that wild? Like,
yeah, that's so interesting.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So sorry to pivot from this, but I guess since
I love a pivot.
This will be the week before Halloween. We like went to dinner at our friend's house last weekend, and we were sharing ghost stories.
Oh, Jesus. It was too much for me.
Was it?
Couldn't you tell I was like, I had reached the end of that because it was like story after story after story. I was getting creeped out.
Was it though? I feel like they had one big story.
Remember though, maybe it was that plus we were also talking about other dark stuff.
Well, I will say it didn't bother me at all. I love that actually.
Yeah, you were in it. I loved it. I mean, it was fun seeing you.
But I've been like a little creeped out in our house.
God damn it. Why?
I think just that stuff staying with me, and like, we even that night said, and we have said many, many times, like, our house is good. This house here,
it doesn't seem haunted.
Does not have any spirit sense or anything like at all.
Did you get creeped out when you're at the cabin this week earlier?
No.
Have you ever been creeped out at the cabin?
Yes.
I have too, like the first time by myself. I was pretty creeped out.
I think that I will feel a little on edge the first time we sleep in the front house.
But I'm asking in the back house, have you been ever creeped out by yourself? Have you ever been creeped out in the back house with us there?
Yeah, actually, I wasn't creeped out when I was there by myself. I was creeped out once when we were all there.
Was the fire going?
Yeah.
I do feel like the fire
adds kind of a spooky...
Have you done a fire by yourself up there?
No.
Because I've done that, and that's like a little creepy.
Well, the fire, like, the light of the fire kind of dances off the walls. Totally. It makes it feel like... But yeah, I probably will be a little creeped out, but I have been a little bit creeped out in our house, and I was thinking about, I have some follow-up questions for you because we've told this story so many times, but in our old place in Silver Lake, the night that you woke up and there was an elderly woman sitting in a chair by my bedside, facing me, looking at me.
Looking at you, yeah.
With a look that was what?
It just seemed not friendly.
Was she mad at me?
No, I don't know, but it was like bad vibes. That's how I would describe it.
What I have never really investigated is what did you do next?
I did a double take.
And she was still there.
Still there.
And how like opaque was she or not?
I would go like 40% opacity, probably. You could see it, you know.
40. So more there or less there?
Oh,
like 40% there.
I'm thinking like if you use Photoshop, if you go to 40%, that'll resonate for some of our listeners.
Okay.
But like that you can see, but totally see through her too.
Was she like glowing?
Yeah, I guess it's almost like, yeah, I would say yes, because it almost feels like a light, right? Like a light, like
yes.
Yeah. So
and
yeah,
then like
sure.
what was she wearing?
I don't remember it, and as I've said, the other thing I saw was in like a military regalia, but her just like, you know, more old timey, like just like a dress or something, like, but it would nothing memorable.
And then like
the memorable thing about it was like older lady, hair kind of pulled back, I think, but just like bad vibes, not a happy lady.
And looking at me.
Yeah.
And so you did a double take. There's this bad vibe Betty staring at your wife. And then what do you do?
I thought to myself, what am I going to do? And then I thought, am I going to wake you up? And then I was like, no, there's no way I'm waking you up because you will fucking freak out about this. And then so I just kind of closed my eyes tight and went back to sleep. Some may argue I was never awake, right? The whole time. But let me tell you, it felt very, very real. Very, very real.
Okay, I appreciate at least hearing that you had the thought process about what am I going to do? I don't want to wake her up and freak her out.
Oh, yeah. No. It was no. I was very much thinking about you in this scenario.
Okay. Because I've told this story like a few times recently.
Yeah.
I'm like, and they're like, and what did he do? And I'm like, I guess just went back to sleep. Like,
yeah,
wasn't sure. But a friend of mine who had an insane ghost experience that was like confirmed in the sense that she saw this ghost. She had her kid in bed with her and her husband. It was a long experience. The ghost like moved, you know, whatever. And then the door slammed so loud that all three of them, like it woke her husband up. The kid screamed. So, and then she talked to someone after that. And the advice, should you find yourself in this situation, is to like think in your mind is to a message to convey to them, which is, we wish you no harm. And then think about each person in your family and like surround them in kind of a sphere of white light, protective.
Oh, okay.
So that's a good thing to know.
That's a very good thing. Getting back to our current house. So I would say this happened 3 times total where I wake up and just have that feeling like someone's there and being like so scared.
Oh, wow.
But the first time it happened, I was like, oh, what the fuck? And then there were raccoons that had just been outside. And I was like, oh, it's my animal instinct.
Yeah.
And I was kind of like, that's cool.
Yeah.
Right? And then but then it's happened like 2 other times. And I always go to look outside if there's raccoons. And there isn't. And then I'm like, oh shit, am I feeling something in the house?
I really don't think there is. I think that I think what I've been experiencing lately is just kind of like my imagination. It's been in the air. The weather has changed like very significantly, and like suddenly it is
Yeah.
kind of fall spooky time, and which I love. But what I will say, while we don't have, I don't think any spiritual issues in this house, we like there's a lot of kind of stuff around this house, and maybe it's just by virtue of living in Los Angeles or East LA, whatever. Like the number of kind of high speed chases that have taken place on our street where
Oh, yeah.
there are 80 cop cars flying after a car that's going 120 miles an hour down our street.
That ain't ghost shit. Yeah, we're just living in the city.
Is it? And I feel like there's stuff like that. Like there's a crackling around this neighborhood sometimes where I'm like, there's always like this stuff going on where you're always like, what is going on?
Do you know what I think it is? Is like I actually think it's not as much here as it is in most other parts of the city.
Mm-hmm.
But I think here it almost feels more noticeable just how like it's a little sleepy over here, if that makes sense. So this stuff like
Really
you
stands out.
feel it more.
I don't know, but see, that's kind of what it is. I don't know if you're right. I don't know many friends who have had a high speed chase, let alone a couple down their block.
That's true.
There's always the helicopter. I know that's an LA thing. There's always like the police helicopter hovering above, but it feels, I guess that happened in Silver Lake a lot too, where there's like the spotlight on us.
If you think about helicopters in Silver Lake,
Yeah.
way more. Way more.
Yeah, that's true.
And the high-speed chases, yeah, that is kind of weird. Like right in front of our house.
Yeah.
And we're not on like a thoroughfare or anything
literally
like that.
right in front of our house where it's just like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's crazy. But anyway, okay, cool. Well,
I love that you
cool.
went from ghosts to that. Like there, I do. You're saying like, is there an energy thing over here?
exactly.
Yeah.
But maybe it's just part of being a person out there in the world. There are sometimes, I mean, call it astrology, call it weather, call it, I mean, like coming out of a pandemic. But there are certain times when, like, driving on the freeway, I'm just like, what is going on with everyone? Like,
Oh, for sure.
where there's a
something in the air.
collective
Yeah, there
energy
is
where
something in the air.
everyone is
Yeah.
acting bananas.
I will say one thing about where we live, though, that I feel like early on when we started living here, there's a calmness and a good energy, I think,
Yes.
at the play that I noticed early on. I can remember like going to a grocery store and in the parking lot getting out and being like, oh, this is nice. Like it feeling something nice. And
Yes.
so, but maybe there's the good and the evil that are duking it out sometimes,
Yeah.
energy wise.
Might be.
But it feels way less chaotic. There are parts of town. Wait, this happened recently where I was just in another part of town where I was just like, I can't handle this. Like it's
Well,
too
I
much
remember,
for me.
yeah, going to a Trader Joe's outside of Silver Lake.
By the way, though, that Silver Lake and Trader Joe's is crazy.
And has a bad energy. There was a at
the
gunpoint
shooting.
hostage situation, and someone died in that Trader Joe's. Pretty shortly after we moved out of there. But I remember going to the first Trader Joe's in our neighborhood and being like, "Oh my gosh, it's amazing!" You know.
Yeah.
I'm grateful for where we live. I'm very grateful for the community and like knowing so many of our neighbors, and I feel very lucky here. But yeah, there has been kind of a weird like crackle in the air.
Okay, let me speak to this real quick.
Okay.
I think that crackle in the air is happening everywhere, and I tell you what, like being on the Nextdoor app lately is so depressing because there is a lot more crime happening these days and stuff. So I think you are just feeling that energy. Like there is
something. It feels like something's a brew. Oh, this reminds me. I was looking at some of our stats lately, and seeing like
I was gonna say, by the way, they're looking good.
they're looking
Thank you
good.
all.
Thank you, Saint Monica. Also,
Seriously.
and thank you all for listening and telling your friends and leaving
Keep telling your friends.
iTunes reviews and Spotify reviews and everything. But it was very cool to see, like, almost every country in the world has someone listening.
Oh, that's super cool.
And then I was like, wow, there are quite a few people in Iran. And I just want to give a special shout out to all the people in Iran who are listening.
That's
to let you know
amazing.
we're with you in solidarity. I'm keeping track of it. I mean, most of the news I get is on Instagram. My dear friend Artemis, who's Iranian, has been kind of posting. That's where I see a lot. And it's the bravery of what the protesters are doing there. And it is like, I mean, children are being braver than like I could ever fathom. And I'm so moved by it. And I mean, I'm sure I'm speaking into a vacuum, but if you're hearing this and you're in Iran, just know that we are rooting for you and with you in spirit.
Oh.
That's what I want to say. And I think, but yes. Oh, I feel like the world over, there's a lot right now where it feels like we're at this kind of breaking point, like, which is not, I don't want to be alarmist or whatever. I mean, obviously to the people in Iran, they're like, you're not being alarmist. You're not being anything. And, you know, but what's going on in Ukraine and everything feels a little, you know, we're going about our lives and going to the fall festival and like, but there's stuff happening out there.
Yeah.
So something to think about. Everyone, I hope you have a very safe Halloween.
Is this our...
Did you hear that?
Yeah. What was it? Spooky.
Wait.
It's probably an animal on the roof. That does happen.
Okay, that was...
Wait.
It's thunder.
Anyways, is this the Halloween episode? No, we'll be back before a Halloween episode. We'll get even spookier
No, we
next
won't.
week. No, we won't. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
Okay.
Okay, back next week. Thanks.
Good night.
Good night. Shh.